Hello, this is Mark Mortimer, and I'm with Windows Azure Product Marketing, and I'm here today to talk with you about why development and test on Windows Azure makes sense for enterprise developers and testers around the world. Development and test on Windows Azure is a compelling scenario for many customers today. Cloud innovation is currently presenting a lot of challenges for businesses and information technologists. How do I integrate with my existing IT investments? What about heterogeneous or complex or IT landscapes? And what about security and compliance? How do I address these concerns while still performing the operations that are critical for my business? Application and test can be time-consuming and complex. And when we look at this, we look at it from two very diverse perspectives. One is the application owner, and the other is the data center administrator. For the application owner, dev and test challenges include things like the ability to rapidly provision self-service development environments, how to experiment and innovate without impacting production infrastructure, and how to perform realistic scale tests is often a very challenging endeavor when I'm working in a traditional data center environment. And for the data center admin, challenges include maintaining the data center production service level agreements, working with limited hardware and operations budgets, trying to work with limited software licensing budgets, and trying to prevent resource contention with VMs, especially between production and development infrastructures. Windows Azure helps to address this concern of both stakeholders by enabling agile development and test. The application owner gets the agility that they need by enabling the owner to integrate existing tools and familiar languages into their development environment. It also allows application owners, whether in development or test, to quickly provision images per pre-configured galleries and to be able to have those images available in minutes versus traditional processes which could literally take months. And for testers, the ability to provision up a realistic scale scenario and to be able to validate the production viability and performance in that realistic scale scenario is a key capability that is enabled by Windows Azure. For the data center administrator, they're concerned with isolating their data center from these sandboxed environments. They're interested in defining governance policies that affect not only the data center, but also these cloud environments that are being leveraged to produce agility for application owners. They also want the ability to set up and manage environments using structured mechanisms and secure infrastructures so that as these environments are provisioned on behalf of developers and testers, that those instances are configured properly and securely. They want centralized visibility and governance, the ability to provide connectivity to their data center when required, and the ability to optimize price performance. Development and test is accentuated and expanded due to the relationship that Windows Azure, MSDN, and Visual Studio have together. These advanced capabilities enable developers and testers to build, test, and learn. They enable innovation in the cloud. Development and test is currently the #1 workload in the cloud, and Windows Azure provides a scalable on-demand infrastructure. It's a cost-effective mechanism in that developers and testers pay only for what they use. It's a ready-to-use gallery of images that's available at your fingertips to provision new instances as you need them. This onloads the ability to provision those instances to the development and test teams that need these instantaneous applications at their fingertips. And it offloads the requirement to build out that hardware infrastructure and provision those instances from traditional IT. It also enables the development and test teams and operations the ability to use existing development tools and languages, and to provide secure private network connection to on-premises Active Directory and domains and manage those instances whether they're on-premises or in the cloud using the System Center infrastructure that the business has already invested in. This integrated capability enables teams to develop across the entire life cycle, from definition through development, through initial testing, through operations, and into the revision cycle, enabling rapid cloud innovation to occur, not just instantaneous initial provisioning. And these operational activities, again, can occur wherever is appropriate for the business. Development and test may make great sense for many businesses to occur in the cloud, but for many businesses, operating those instances in production still needs to occur on premises due to policy or compliance requirements. If that's the case, portability isn't a problem. Applications can be developed and tested in the cloud and then brought back on premises to be operated. Other businesses may find operations in the cloud to be a huge enabler, getting great performance around a globally dispersed infrastructure. Whether you want to deploy in the cloud or whether you want to deploy on premises, the application lifecycle is streamlined through the utilization of Windows Azure as a development and test environment. Windows Azure and MSDN subscriptions are another great partnership. MSDN subscribers get a tremendous amount of benefits, including priority access to the products, access to accounts and learning, access to a community and forums. In addition, MSDN developers get the advantage of a very reduced rates on MSDN software, including Visual Studio, SharePoint, SQL Server, and BizTalk, to name a few. In addition, MSDN subscribers are granted benefits to be able to learn and prototype applications as individual developers on the Windows Azure platform. Depending on the level of the MSDN subscription that the subscriber actually has, whether that's Professional, Premium, or Ultimate, the subscriber can be granted up to $150 per month on Windows Azure to prototype and learn these important skills. And we continue to roll out a continuous cavalcade of capabilities that reduce the friction for developers, whether that's not requiring a credit card to activate the plan, whether that's to provide per-minute billing for virtual machine usage, no longer charging for stopped virtual machines, and better visibility of the used credits. We're working on continual improvements to enable developers and testers to maximize their utility on Windows Azure. MSDN dev test rates are significantly reduced over standard licensed rates to enable teams to do their development and test at a very affordable rate. As you can see, the rates are very significantly decreased in a development and test environment, and this should enable teams to do the work that they need to do to roll out production applications more rapidly and more affordably. I mentioned earlier some examples of what you could do with some MSDN credits of $50, $100, or $150 a month. Let's look at what a premium subscriber would be able to do with their $100 a month allocation. This MSDN subscriber on Windows Azure could run 3 virtual machines for 16 hours a day as part of their benefit. They could choose instead to run 80 virtual machines for a 20-hour load test in the environment. Again, as an alternative to acquiring and provisioning these machines, setting them up in a traditional data center, running a traditional load test against them, then cleaning and re-provisioning those machines for alternate use. This is a tremendous benefit, not just in terms of the ability to spin these up and get them going, but how easy it is to isolate the sandbox from traditional data center environments. Another alternative use of your credits could be to spin up HDInsight nodes. So there could be 50 HDInsight nodes for 10 hours also that would be affordable within that $100 per month premium allocation. or spin up to 100 websites in a database background. Again, the choice of how you use your credits is yours, and it's appropriate for developers and testers to use the infrastructure they need. The allocations are provided each month to the subscribers, so you're really able to use the tools in Windows Azure that you need to get your job done. And not only that, but you're able to track how your utilization is actually consuming those resources using very powerful visual tracking mechanisms that allow you to see just how your credits are being debited throughout the month and to see how your credits will last through the month. If you're doing a very important project and it's determined that your credits are not going to be adequate, you can always extend. But this is a tremendous amount of benefit for developers and testers to springboard their work. So let's talk about how developers get started with virtual machines. What you're seeing on the screen right now is something that I'll show you in a demonstration in just a moment. But this is the UI that enables developers, testers, and IT professionals to select virtual machine images from the Windows Azure portal. These instances are pre-created, pre-optimized, and ready to hydrate on your behalf in the portal. And again, take minutes to provision and be available for you in your Windows Azure subscription. This is how it works. To select an image from the image gallery, you log on to the Windows Azure Management Portal, choose to create a new virtual machine from the image gallery. The image is copied then from the gallery into your blob storage account, and the virtual machine is booted and the changes are then directly written back to your blob storage. So your image, within a few minutes, is completely hydrated, up, and ready to go. You can also move virtual machines between your on-premises environment and the cloud. It's very easy to make virtual machines portable between on-premise and the Windows cloud because any virtual machine that runs on Hyper-V will automatically run in Windows Azure. There's complete portability between virtual machines in the on-premise environment and in the Windows Azure cloud environment. IT pros can also implement PowerShell for automation and advanced management. Whether that's query and management at scale, whether that's the configuration and Active Directory joining of virtual machines, whether that's the setup of a virtual network to provide secure connection to on-premises resources, or to create a shared storage account where teams can upload and download VHDs from so that they can actually have these instances available in the cloud. And that greatly reduces the amount of time it takes to take these images, copy them into a new storage account, hydrate them for a new developer. And we'll show this during the demonstration. The last scenarios that I want to talk about are how you can bring your own custom VHDs. So whether you create your own VHD in the cloud or on premises, you're able to have that capability. If you've created that VHD on premises, you can upload the image to a shared blob storage environment and then create a virtual machine by attaching that instance to a disk and booting and directing your updates into that blob storage. So you have the ability to hydrate an instance for your own local subscription and to be able to utilize that with no delays. Let's take a look at what that actually looks like in operation. Let me jump into the Windows Azure main screen and take a look at all of the items that I have as part of my subscription. Developers, testers, and IT professionals can access Windows Azure from windowsazure.com, easily accessing the portal from any browser. Here I'm taking a look at all of the items in my Windows Azure subscription. What I'd like to do is take a look at a few specific areas before we begin. First of all, let's take a look at my virtual machines. As you can see, I've got some virtual machines already provisioned into my Windows Azure infrastructure. I've got one of them running and one of them stopped. Stopping Windows Azure virtual machines is a great way of saving money on Windows Azure because you're not charged for the minutes the instance is stopped. If I need to activate this image, it's very easy to just go in and activate the image from the gallery. To do that, all I need to do is choose the image that I want to start and click Start. Windows Azure will then start that image and it's available for me to begin using. When I'm finished doing my development and test operations for the day, it's really easy for me to jump back into the portal, stop that image from running, and conserve my benefits for another day. As you can see, I've got two virtual machines here, but what I need is an entire development environment. In this case, I'm going to show you what that development environment looks like by moving into a storage account. My IT administrator has created the entire development infrastructure for my particular project in a storage account that's available to me as shared storage. I can take a look at that in my demo area, which has been created. I'll take a look at the container here, and I'll see that I have a container called ExpenseBase. ExpenseBase contains the virtual machine images in VHD format that I will actually hydrate to build out my development environment. This process takes several steps, and to automate this, I'm going ahead and run a script that will actually move these instances from the shared storage container into my own personal storage container, which you can see right now has no objects inside of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the development instances that have been created for me by my IT pro into my working space. I'm then going to hydrate those virtual machines, and I'm going to then be able to access that development environment, clean and newly built for me from my subscription. So what I've done is I've shelled into the PowerShell environment, and you can see that what I've got here is a PowerShell script that is going to take the instances from my shared storage environment, move them into my local storage environment, and then actually hydrate those instances for me. So what I'm doing now is you can see that I've just kicked off the build, and you can see that the endpoints now are being moved into my local store, and you'll start to see these being created. While this script is running and these new instances are being created for me and hydrated so that I can begin my development tasks for the day, I'm going to go back into the Windows Azure portal and show you one alternate way of provisioning instances into your environment. So what I'll do is I'm just going to move into my virtual machines. You'll see that these are my virtual machines that I currently have now. The script is actually copying new instances in and hydrating them while we're working right now. But also, I'm going to go ahead and provision a single new instance from the virtual machine gallery. I've created also a lightweight developer workstation that I can provision right here from the gallery. The Visual Studio Ultimate 2013 instance is available in the gallery. I'm going to go ahead and select that. This instance already has SharePoint and SQL pre-installed on the individual developer image. I'm going to give this a machine name. I'm going to create a username. And once I've got that created, I'm going to go ahead and move. I'm going to create a new cloud service instance. And I'm going to go ahead and choose the virtual machine configuration defaults. At this time, you can see that the new instance that I just provisioned, VS Ultimate Sand, is starting to be provisioned. You can also see the other images that were coming in from PowerShell being hydrated and now starting in my virtual machine instance. These three instances up here are the Active Directory, the application server, and the web server that are part of my developer environment that's been provisioned for me as a result of running these PowerShell scripts. You can see that that script is still executing right now, and within a few minutes it'll be completed and my complete development environment will be available for me to use. When I'm done doing my work in the development environment, I've got another script here that'll actually clean up all of those deployment images. It'll just go ahead and take them off of my local storage account, and it'll also take the images that were hydrated into my VHD area, and it will remove those VMs from the portal as well. So the entire development environment can be spun up for me within a few minutes when I need it, and removed when I'm completed with the project, so that I've got the most economical and high value environment possible. We've now seen how you can provision new instances using the portal gallery or provision an entire development environment using PowerShell scripts. When we were working so far, we've been working with a set of Windows technologies and Windows developer workstations. We also have the ability in Azure to work with a wide variety of open source technologies, from virtual machine images to capabilities such as Hadoop. You're able to actually pull in instances that are completely provisioned on your behalf and ready to go. So whether your work needs to be done on the Windows platform or another platform, whether your work needs to be done in one language or another, whether your target is a desktop within your corporate infrastructure or a mobile device on the extranet, Windows Azure gives you the capabilities that you need to do your development and test and to do your hosting dependent upon your requirements. We also offer the best-in-class environment for doing development over SharePoint. You can develop custom internet sites and collaboration apps and burst compute storage and database instances when you need it to support additional requirements or heavy load on your infrastructure. Azure and SQL Server are also a phenomenal match. The ability to provision new instances, to develop applications over SQL, to deploy those applications, again, regardless of whether it's in the cloud or on premises, and to be able to manage that using familiar interfaces, whether that's Management Studio or advanced developer capabilities. You have a streamlined ability to do your development and testing using Windows Azure with SQL Server and SharePoint, as well as open source solutions. And again, the ability to move those instances back and forth between Windows Azure and your data center because the VMs are portable. We also have relationships with other service providers. So if it's necessary for you to leverage an alternative cloud source, again, those VHDs can be moved at your requirement. Windows Azure delivers phenomenal enterprise-ready capabilities by design. And for development and test, there's no better environment than Windows Azure, joined together with MSDN subscriptions and Visual Studio. Thank you very much for attending today. I look forward to engaging with you as we move forward on development and test on Windows Azure.